Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show where I answer questions, discuss topics, and all that jazz. The game in the background today is Metro Last Light. After finishing my GCSE exams, I started having a lot more time to play games. Not just to record games, but just to play them for once. I haven't actually been able to sit down and play a game, up until now, for a very long time. So it was quite a change for me. And I've started off playing through The Witcher 2, Assassins of Kings, which, like Metro Last Light, I picked up during the Steam Summer Sale. I completed The Witcher 2 in about 30 hours or so, and really enjoyed it as well. It revitalized my interest in simply playing games for the sake of playing games. Which is great for me, because I'm enjoying it. It isn't so great for you, because it means there are less videos. Instead of spending my time making videos, I'm just playing games, which, on second thoughts, doesn't sound particularly great, but oh well. And so Metro Last Light, I finished this in a lowly 13 hours or so, which I was hoping to get a bit more mileage out of it than that, and as a result I'm thinking I'm going to actually play through it again. I might make videos, or I'll probably end up live streaming it if I do. We'll see. Whatever the case, I certainly enjoyed it. And I'm intending, once my Oculus arrives, which will be this month, my Oculus Dev Kit 2, I'm intending to go back and play it in virtual reality because it just looks perfect for it. There are so many bits which just feel like they would work well in VR. But anyway, that's enough rambling. 2 minutes in, goddamn. First question comes in from Klaas. I think Klaas via the email. YouTube has recently added support for 60 frames per second streaming. Will you be uploading future videos in 60 FPS? I find it unlikely. I think 60 FPS looks really nice. Oh, it doesn't have that filmic look. No, I don't believe words like that whatsoever. There's a lot of controversy going on in the media recently that games are deliberately limiting their frame rates in order to try and get that filmic look, that certain aesthetic where it stutters just to the degree that films do. What bollocks! It really is massive, 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 great big stinking donkey balls. And it is simply fact that higher frames per second are better. If you can get more frames per second for the same graphics, then it is better. That is just fact. Stop trying to deny it. Good lord. Unless you make your game in a stupid way. But regardless, 60 FPS. I think it looks great. And I would really like to be able to make videos in it. And I've seen a few of these new YouTube videos, and you can tell there is a difference. It's just better to watch. But I don't really think I'll be able to achieve it whilst recording. There are a few games where I can, but KSP is certainly not one of them, and indeed Metro Last Light. I can't hit 60 FPS whilst recording all the time. Hell, when I'm on these graphical settings, even when I'm not recording, I can't hit a 60 FPS all the time. And as a result, the battle becomes not 30 FPS versus 60 FPS, which 60 FPS would obviously win. It becomes 30 FPS constant versus a variable frame rate between 30 and 60. Because my lower end is pretty much constant 60 for this game, and for many others. My rig settings, my computer specifications are on the screen right now. You can also see them on the About page at my YouTube channel, which, for the record, is where the majority of YouTubers put their system specifications. So if you're ever wondering which YouTuber has got which rig, you should go to their About page and check before asking them in Twitch chat. But yes, this is what I've got. My graphics card is fairly meaty, and as a result it is capable of putting out those frame rates. But especially for KSP, the CPU I have currently is not so meaty, quite a budget AMD FX 6100 CPU, and as a result it bottlenecks my GPU by a significant degree on KSP. For most games it's your GPU that you are more worried about. As long as you have a sufficient CPU you will be fine, but KSP is quite processor intensive, as is Skyrim, unusually enough. Skyrim is quite processor intensive. So anyway, back to the original point. Constant frame rate at 30 FPS versus a variable between 30 and 60. In my opinion, despite higher frame rates being better, a constant frame rate is preferable. The reason being that frame rate does affect the actual speed at which the game plays. I mean, of course it doesn't KSP because you see everything goes slower, but in pretty much every game it will slow down the playing, it will slow down how quickly you can turn, how quickly you can react when you have a lower frame rate. So if you played a variable frame rate, your reactions, you won't be able to set it into any kind of rhythm because it's constantly jumping around. Even if it's only differing by a matter of a few milliseconds, you're constantly getting that change in how fast the game will react to your input. And that can be uncomfortable to play and uncomfortable to watch. Whereas at a constant frame rate, even only at the lowly 30 FPS, you know exactly what to expect, you're reacting at the same time, and it generally feels, it's a much more pleasant experience, really. If you don't mind 30 FPS, which I don't, although, admittedly, it has kind of started to grate on me a little bit after long exposure to high frame rates in games such as Super Hexagon. Even Super Hexagon, I know, they're not really comparable, but even in games like that, after playing at 60 FPS for a long time, it's a lot harder to get back used to enjoying a lower frame rate. It's the same thing that happens that when you go from a laptop to a PC, suddenly what frame rates you were playing on that laptop become intolerable. But the point is, constant frame rate. I'd say that constant frame rate is probably preferable to something between 30 and 60. And therefore, I'm more likely to continue recording at 30 FPS unless I'm sure that I can get up to that 60 and remain about there for the majority of the video. Final point on this matter, 60 frames per second is double 30 frames per second. Pretty self-explanatory. It's also not just double the frames per second, it's also double the file size. The file size. At the end of the video, after recording like an hour of gameplay, I come out and I see a file size that is twice as big as what it would have been if I was recording at 30 FPS. I have 3 storage devices. A 128GB single stage device. SSD, the double S, single stage. I've been playing way too much KSP. Never enough KSP. I have a solid state drive, 128GB. I have which my operating system is on, a 1TB hard drive and another 2TB hard drive. I actually record to the 1TB hard drive, funnily enough, because when I first set up my rig with this new SSD, I was a bit of an idiot and put all my program files on the 2TB hard drive, and so the 1TB was left for recording. Which is kind of fine, but after hours and hours, especially at 60 frames per second recording, it does get used up. And so I have to clean it regularly, and it stays at about 300GB free on average. 300GB which can be easily chomped up by 60 FPS. So just for convenience's sake, for me, also editing purposes, a higher density of file size, that's the wrong term for it, but basically bigger file sizes become a bit harder to edit. Sony Vegas doesn't like processing so much and having to do that much encoding. So for convenience sake of making videos, a lower frame rate is somewhat preferable. And there you go, in answer to your question, YouTube has recently added support for 60 FPS streaming. Will you be uploading future videos in 60 frames per second? No, I most likely will not, depending on the game. Thank you very much for your question, class. The next one comes in from Alpha Epic via Twitter. What happened to the Space Engineers series? Exams happened. I've been mentioning these a lot in my videos, haven't I? Well, it's quite to be expected, isn't it? I am a child, I am 16 years old. There we go, actually clarified that for once. I am 16 years old, I've just finished my GCSE exams that we have in the UK. And whilst doing those exams, I couldn't really justify doing multiplayer gaming and making so many videos. I could, because I wasn't really using all the extra time I had available as a result of stopping making YouTube videos for my exams. I didn't really try as hard as I perhaps should have done. And so we probably would have had time to do Space Engineers, but I couldn't justify it, you know? I couldn't justify putting aside that time to actually make videos with Enter Elysium and Chicken Keeper. So the Space Engineers series that we did, the mini-series, had a natural cutoff point when my exam started. And the intention, as we said in those videos, was to restart it in a couple of months' time, which would be now. But, well, that just kind of never happened. And we haven't really talked about it, Elysium and Chicken Keeper and I. Elysium is intending to stop trying to live off of his YouTube income. He has been doing that for about a year, since he had a massive growth spike about a year ago and was pulling in the views that were just enough for him to live off of the ad revenue. But as everyone has been slowing down in growth somewhat, including myself, including pretty much everyone, although we have seen a spike in recent weeks, as a result Elysium is now looking for a job, I believe, and as a result is not doing YouTube quite to the extent that he has been doing. His series World War K and World War K 2 have been cancelled because of the sheer amount of time they take to record. Which is a similar reason why I cancelled Space Tourism, because it takes so long to make videos like that, and the payoff wasn't so great in terms of how good I felt the videos were actually turning out. So I cancelled Space Tourism. And that's probably won't be ever coming back, at least not in its current form. It'll be reborn anew as the last project once we finally get all that testing done. But essentially Elysium has less time, and as a result, I don't know whether we'll be doing these multiplayer series with multiple points of view edited together kind of things. We certainly will be making more videos together in the future, that's pretty much undoubtable. The Kerbal Polar Expedition is happening August 6th to August 10th. Click the link in the description after you finish watching this video to go watch the announcement video for the KPE, if you haven't already seen it. But yeah, we probably won't be making more Space Engineers. And it's not even just because Elysium doesn't really have the time, it's also because I'm not too enthused by the game. Space Engineers, you know, it's Star-made, only better graphics. It didn't catch me at all when it was first released. I didn't quite like Banished, actually. I didn't quite understand the hype that was behind it. And eventually I was pulled into doing that series by Elysium, and I enjoyed it. I don't like the single player, because by myself it seems a bit boring. But the multiplayer was great, being able to roleplay and then run around and set ourselves objectives and go fulfill those objectives, like, there's a ship over there, let's strip it of ore and then bring the ore back and then smelt stuff using that ore to create weapons so that we might go out and get more ships. It's that self-determined progression that is pretty attractive, and it's the reason why Minecraft is, you know, so popular, as are other games in recent times. But it's not too deep, really. There's not awful lot of progression beyond that. I like the multiplayer mainly because I like Elysium and Chicken Keeper. Playing and talking to them is about as much fun as playing any other game and talking to them during it. There's nothing that really makes Space Engineers stand out for me. And I appreciate it's a good game, but something just doesn't pull me in about it. And as a result, I'm not sure that there are going to be any more Space Engineers videos on this channel. If they do something drastically new, which I decide to take a look at, which with some of the YouTubers, hey, we don't know. But I don't know whether that will happen, and so I can't really say. And that, Alpha Epic, is what happened to the Space Engineers series. It just kind of stopped, really. And those are all the questions for today. Before I go, I would like to reiterate the fact about the Kerbal Polar Expedition. I'm going on holiday to Menorca, one of the Spanish islands, very soon, this Thursday, if this video gets uploaded today, and, well, this Thursday, regardless of whether this video gets uploaded. Oh no, I didn't upload the video, I can't go on holiday. So I'm going on holiday that way for 10 days. Over the next 3 days, I'm going to try and make sufficient videos that I'll be able to release them during that period, so you will still get video coverage, probably a video every 2 days or so, 2 or 3 days I'd imagine. And it'll be I was going to say useful, it kind of turned into half useful and half useless. it'll be the usual useless stuff. Lifeless Planet Let's Play, the FTL final parts will be uploaded. I'll probably make another game library playthrough, although I'm not sure about that. G was going to be for Guns of Icarus. I'm not really sure whether I'm going to be able to do that video. But yeah, it'll be business as usual, just at a slower pace, as has been the case for the past few days. And so, after I come back from holiday, the Kerbal Polo Expedition will be very close. And after I come back from holiday, hopefully my Oculus Rift will also be here. So, following that period of time, which I think ends around the 21st or so, I'll be making Oculus Rift videos. I imagine there'll be a lot of content about that. And then later on there'll be the Kerbal Polo Expedition in August, raising money by doing something pointless and boring. Driving a rover in Kerbal Space Program all the way from the Kerbal Space Center to the North Pole of the planet Kerbin, which will take hours, and I mean hours. So if you have no life like me and you would like to come along to twitch.tv/HOCgaming and be mindlessly bored, we'll try and lessen the pain by having on our brilliant co-hosts. Various YouTubers from across the world will be joining me and attempting to keep you awake whilst we hold W for 4 hours at a time. More information in the description. We're raising money for Charity Water, a charity determined to provide sources of clean water to people in countries such as Ethiopia. It was Ethiopia where last year's, the first Kerbal Polo Expedition's money went to, and so it's fairly likely to be Ethiopia again. We don't really know. But please do come along to that. Check that video in the description. Thank you very much for watching. This has been All That Jazz, the show where I answer questions, discuss topics, and all that jazz. If you have questions for the show, you can send them in via the YouTube comments below this video to my email address at hocgaming@live.co.uk or via Twitter at HOCgamer. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all next time.